Welcome to Season 3 of the Truer Business Podcast with Kara Ellery
and Lauren Van Mullum. This season, we're exploring how to set yourself up for ease instead of hustling and slinging pressure tactics on every single platform.
So if you are ready to stop chasing pie-in-the-sky goals and pursue gentle growth, this season is for you.
Okay, today we're on with Emily Gertenbach. Did I get your last name? I just realized that I've never said it out loud. But, you know.
No, you got it fine.
But you and I met in a business group that I'm really digging, Solo Business Squad with Maggie Patterson. And you were kind enough to share some of your expertise when I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I've been crushing it at SEO almost by accident for copywriter for coaches. Like I kind of own those keywords. But then somebody looked me up, and of course, AI search is what pops up first now. And I wasn't ranking didn't exist. And it really freaked me out because a good third of my clients come from the internet, like just organic search. And that is going to come to a screeching halt as AI search results take over unless I do something drastic to fix it. So you gave me so much good advice. Like I saved all of it. I've taken extensive notes. It's basically my marching orders for April. Like it's my whole personality. And I couldn't wait to get you on because I know that you've just come out, because I follow your newsletter with this simple blogging system, and you help people like me get found on the internet, and especially with Meta pulling its weirdzy tricks and other forms of marketing being either exceptionally difficult and time consuming to do, or the rules change every 5 seconds. Like, I feel like organic is actually one of the better options. So that's my bad explanation of what you do. Please give us the official.
No, it's not a bad explanation at all. And I am so glad that I met you in the Staying Solo Squad, and it's been great to have these conversations with you and work with you so far. So yes, so what I do is I do help people get found online, specifically through organic search. Lauren, you mentioned Meta. For a lot of small businesses, you know, social has been their go-to, but that becomes more difficult. So even though, as you experienced, search is changing, it's still a really important discovery channel for a lot of small businesses. So what I do as an SEO consultant, and that of course includes AI search optimization at this point, but I'm just going to refer to it all as SEO to keep the conversation flowing without a ton of acronyms. What I do as an SEO consultant is I help business owners, one, figure out what's holding them back from search, which could be a technical issue with their website. It could be not a clear understanding of who their audience is or what keywords they need to target. And then I help them fix that and bring in traffic through content. So some of my clients hire me to write the content for them. Others utilize my resources and training and frameworks, like you mentioned, the simple blogging system, where they can get the tools they need to create that content themselves. Because after all, they're experts. Like you're an expert. So you are the best person to talk about what you do.
I spent so much of my early to mid-career ghostwriting blog posts for subject matter experts, founders, CEOs. And it was very frustrating to me because they did not want to make the time to sit down with me and actually give me their expertise. I'm like, babes, you can't be the subject matter expert. You can't be that thought leader if you're not willing to give me your thoughts, because then you're asking me to be the thought leader. And that time I was in my 20s. I wasn't leading anything. So how do you wrangle that?
That's a tricky conundrum. And you know, it's a really important question right now because we're at a point where approach to that expert-led content in a lot of industries needs a big mindset shift. Not to sound like an internet guru here. Oh, mindset shift. But for a long time, that was the approach. It was like, oh, well, I need to get something written on a subject. I'm, you know, a busy executive. I don't have time to do that. So I'm going to give it to a writer and have them do it. And in the past, well, yes, it's super frustrating for the writers because I've been in those shoes to have to, you know, to need to get information from the byline author, and it's hard to get it sometimes. In the past, though, having any kind of article with the quote unquote expert's name slapped on it could be beneficial for search, that's no longer the case. If it doesn't contain actual expert insights, it's not going to go anywhere. So there's an acronym. I know I said I wasn't going to do a ton of acronyms, but this one's really important. It's called EEAT. So EAT with 2 E's. And that stands for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And you have to have all 4 of those things right now for your content to work in search results. So it's no longer just enough to put an authoritative name, like the CEO of a company, on a blog post that's kind of vague. You actually have to have in-depth insights. So at this point, if a company wants to have someone ghostwrite content for their thought leaders, that's fine, but those thought leaders need to be doing an interview with the writers, and then the writers are not directly transcribing it, but using the bulk of that interview to create the content. And over time, if like a CEO works with the same writer over and over and over again, after a few months, the need for those interviews may lessen because the writer has built up a solid understanding of where that expert is coming from, where that executive is coming from, and what they tend to say. But you have to have it informed in that way. Gone are the days of being able to have a different writer write a blog post every month and put your name on it. It's not going to do anything except waste money.
Is that EEAT partially to bypass the mass amount of content that's being pushed out by ChatGPT and things like that, just to sort of differentiate it?
Yeah, so I didn't come up with the EEAT acronym. I should clarify that. That is something that's come down from Google, the powers that be, as a guideline that people should follow when creating content. And you are exactly right. That is a big part of it. So generative AI produced content cannot have true expertise and experience because it is not a person. What it produces is an average of all the content that's ever existed online before. So yes, that includes some great thought leadership articles, but it also includes the worst Reddit posts by the stupidest people you can think of. It includes everything. So if you're just producing articles with something like ChatGPT and putting it out there, you're not going to hit those EEAT markers. And yeah, that is the framework to follow now to sort of guide you down the right path. And unfortunately, it involves a lot of non-AI writing.
I feel like this is such a natural segue into the simple blogging system that I've been hearing about and that I'm very intrigued by, because so I used to, and I will no longer do this because it's outdated now, but I used to teach my lazy SEO system, which is not a system. It's literally a blog post of here's how I got found by a whole lot of people by accident. And I break down what actually worked. And some of that still works. It's about engagement metrics. It's about people who are commenting on your post and sharing the link space with you. There's a more technical term for that, but they're sharing links and they're linking to that blog post and they are sharing it with other people. And that's what happened with this one blog post I wrote explicitly for SEO. And it has served me well for 6 years, maybe 8. It's been there for a long, long time. And I still get a third of my clients from that blog post because it ranked so well. But things just got exponentially more complicated. So how do you simplify that? What is the simple blogging system? I must know.
Okay, so I have been doing this for SEO and SEO content for longer than I want to think about. I've been doing it since 2010. So I've seen a lot of shifts happen during that time. Every time that algorithms update, Google changes what it does, there's one consistent thing, is that really well-written content that is by and for humans consistently does well in search results. And that's one of the reasons why that post that you mentioned, that even though the post is older at this point, it still gets you a third of your clients, is because it is a real human take on a real problem that people have, and you are providing answers to them. So that is a great example of what the core of the simple blogging system really is. So I have taken all of my experience and knowledge from the past 16 years, getting ahead of my husband, that's 16 years. And I've distilled it down to what are the core elements that everyone needs to turn their content into something that actually brings in organic traffic. And when you boil it down, when you strip away all of the internet gurus talking about the tips and the tricks and the changes and this and the that's, you are left with the need for content that demonstrates the EEAT that we just talked about, and that meets very specific needs. So everyone who is searching has either an informational need, meaning that they are looking for a resource, a how-to, a firsthand experience. They need to know something. They want that factual information funneling into their brain. Navigational, which doesn't actually mean navigation in the real world. It means they're trying to find something online. Like if you run a course, maybe they're trying to find your sign-up page or trying to find the login page. That's a navigational search. There are commercial searches where someone is thinking about making a purchase. They're getting ready. They're not at the purchase point yet, but they know they want, say, new running shoes. So they're doing research to figure out what might be the best option for them. And then transactional. Those are the searches where someone has their credit card in hand. They are ready to plunk down the money. They just need to get to the right webpage to make a call and book an appointment or put in their payment details. So you have these 4 types of search needs that you have to identify, and you need to get in front of those people using the EEAT process. And I've boiled that down to a library of 8 types of content that work for all of these situations. There are informational guides, there are lists, which some people say now lists don't work, but they do. And the simple blogging system explains exactly how and why to do it in the right way. Comparative articles, helping people figure out whether they need option A or option B. In-depth reviews and case studies. All of these can be, and there's 8 in total that cover all of those areas. And they can all be adapted to different industries and topics. And it's really like if you've ever played the game Mad Libs, where you fill in, the nouns, the verbs. It's like that, although you're doing more filling in this case. But in these templates, for example, I have an informational guide template that you can use to write a blog post that will hit those EEAT markers for any industry. And it walks you through choosing the title. It tells you exactly how many sentences to write about your main topic in the introduction, where to put your headers, when and how to communicate your expertise at the right point in the article. When should you put in a bulleted list to make it more readable? And you just follow the steps that I've laid out. And by the end, the user can delete all of the instructions and they're left with a full blog post that is ready to work for search.
That's amazing.
I'm also looking at it, and its regular price is $200 right now. So it's on pre-sale right now. It won't be when this is released.
Like, let me tell you, if you were going to hire a copywriter who is decent to write a blog post for you, it should be at least $200.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. Like, I'm flagging this. I feel like that's a lot of value for.
Yes. My goal was to make it accessible. So yeah, right now the early price is at $200. It's actually on sale from that right now as the early adopter price. But by the time this airs, the price may have gone up a little bit from $200. But it is my goal is to always keep it within the realm of affordability for most business clients. Like, it is going to be somewhat of an investment, but it is going to be, as you mentioned, Lauren, it's going to be less than hiring a writer. And my goal here isn't to replace professional writers. There are a lot of people who enjoy writing for their business and they want to, or that is the most cost-effective way for them. But at the same time, those people are inadvertently wasting time, which when you're a business owner equates to money. And they might be creating great content that no one is getting to see because they're missing key structural elements, and this guide takes the place of that. It's also endlessly reusable. Like, it's delivered as a Google Doc. I'm working on building out a little web app for it where it'll generate the document. Like, you fill in fields and it'll spit the completed document out for you. But right now it's a Google Doc, and when you get it, it's yours. You can use it as many times as you want, over and over again.
That's really cool because it's the strategy. I mean, even I've been doing this for 18 years. Like, my business is old enough to vote. And the strategy of an SEO post, I still kind of always need a refresher because that's not actually my area of expertise anymore. And it hasn't been for a long time, and things have changed. I think I might be investing in that
Now, this podcast is getting expensive. I keep on wanting to buy the things our guests have.
I know. We had Michelle on, the lawyer last time, and I'm looking at one of her contract templates thinking it's time.
Yeah, and I'll add the templates here for the blog posts. So do you say, so for me, I have a website that, being selfish now, I'm going to pick your brain.
No, go for it.
But so traditionally I had my DIY website design services and then sort of like some do-it-yourself resources all on the same website. And a lot of my blog content was like, I would do a YouTube tutorial on how to do something in Squarespace, write a blog post about it. And it was like very high traffic content because it was serving an immediate, like, I don't know how to do this, looking it up. However, most of those people weren't people who were then going to hire me to build a full-blown website because they're piecemealing it and doing it themselves. So I decided to divide up the two sites. So now I have a website entirely dedicated to website design and one-on-one services that does not have a blog on it. But if I want to rank, I'm assuming like updating your site is one of the things you need to do. So I need to maybe...
Yes. So having that regular content is super important if you want to bring in business through organic search. Now, some people decide not to do that and they only rely on social media. That can be, in my opinion, a risky proposition because, yes, Google changes algorithms and, the ranking signals, but it is typically more consistent year after year than what like Instagram or Meta decides to do and change. And they're always trying to get you to monetize it, get you to run ads. So yes, to appear in organic search now, especially with AI search being an aspect, fresh content is very important. Now, that doesn't mean your content can't work for you for a long time. Like in the example Lauren mentioned, I have a blog post that I wrote comparing some different AI writing tools to see how they stacked up against my own human writing. That's been my number one most popular blog post for like 4 years running. I just updated it because it needed to for timeliness, but it was still popular. So content can last for a long time, but what these AI search tools are doing is they are looking for full snippets of text, like full sentences and paragraphs, and then they are lifting that and putting it in the search results. So if your website isn't very text heavy, there's not much for it to grab onto. And while you could appear as a link to like a landing page, it's a lot less likely than a blog page.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to get your template kit and I'm just going to do one of them every single month.
Honestly, and I'm not saying this just because I made the template kit, but that's a good plan. That's really sustainable. And that's another thing that I wanted to do with this was to make content creation feel sustainable for people. Rather than hiring a writer or a coach and having to feel like you have to do all of it in an 8-week sprint, which could be very overwhelming. You have it and you can do it as you see fit. And then you can also see which ones are really working best for your business. The templates come with a guide that walks you through when you should use each of the templates, but you yourself will see which ones tend to resonate with your audience best, which ones you enjoyed writing the most, and it'll help you develop your own skills as a writer over time.
Okay, so I've got an old school question, and I have to sort of explain it for the blessedly not indoctrinated. There used to be this pillar cluster model that a lot of folks were doing for their business, and what that is, I'm going to explain it badly, is you've got content pillars about like the main themes of what your business does, like your main point of view themes. And then you would have these clusters of content that you've written around each of these pillars. And it would be like little spokes on a wheel. So if like one pillar was like why you should never write anything with AI, that's not actually one of my pillars. Maybe like one of my pillars would be why you need to put humans on both sides of your AI draft. And then I would have articles that would be about that theme. So that's the pillar cluster. How do you feel about that model? Is it dead? Is it like 10 years ago, or is it still relevant?
No, that is a good question, and you did a good job of explaining that. And that is an ongoing debate. So there are some folks that say it's dead. There's a man named Bernard, and he runs a company called ClearScope, which is a content optimization platform. He's coined the term ranch content, which is like a modified version of the pillar cluster rather than having these tightly formed pillar clusters. It's more like you're spreading out related topics, like the outbuildings on your ranch. I think that approach is a good way to do it. He explains it better than I could paraphrase it, but if you just Google ClearScope ranch content, there's a diagram that he drew that comes up. It's a great way to explain it. But I've also heard some other people say that the pillar cluster model is still really working well for them. What I suggest is to think of it in terms of related categories. So a blog is going to have categories. If you're listening to this and your blog doesn't have categories, get yourself some blog categories. Very important. So your blog should have general categories. So on mine, I have a category for SEO tips, one for content about AI, one for content about writing and frameworks and things like that. And then you want to group your topics, group the content you write about into those topics. So it's not a formal cluster model, but you want to be consistent. If you find yourself writing, yeah, sure, sometimes you might want to write a blog post that doesn't fall into one of your categories. If you find yourself writing content that doesn't fall into one of your existing categories and it doesn't make up its own category on the regular, it means that you don't have a good focus as to what your blog is about and what your audience wants. So I'd say give yourself about 4 blog categories that you want to focus on. And as you're sitting down to write and looking at keywords that you're going to write about, think about, okay, does this fall into one of these blog categories? And if it doesn't, have I recently written an article that didn't fall into my blog categories? And if so, it's time to think about, do I need a new category? Am I going to talk about this a lot? Or do I need to refocus in on what I really want to convey?
I love how like streamlined and strategic and simple. I mean, I'm sure like going and executing it does, take a business owner time, but it's as opposed to like the let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks kind of approach. It really feels like there's like a nice sort of method that like if you just stuck with it long enough and sort of iterated on it as needed, you would see results.
You are spot on. So my goal is to make things as simple and streamlined as possible. And you're right. If you stick with something and you iterate with it, you will see those results. And if you don't see results, it's a sign that there may be a disconnect between what you think your audience wants or who you think your audience is and what the reality is. So in that case, it's important to readjust, because if you do this, if you pick your categories and you routinely create content, on whatever schedule works for you, in an ideal world, it would be once a week. But like, there's times I don't even put out a blog post once a week. Like life is lifing. Things happen as business owners. If you're consistent, you will see results. And if you don't, again, not to repeat myself, but if you don't, that's when you're like, okay, there is a disconnect here. And we need to figure out what that disconnect is. And that disconnect is, more often than not, in my experience, people know who their target audience is, but they don't know what their target audience is searching, because we as business owners can be very close to our business and we can think, okay, well, I talk about XYZ, so people are going to search XYZ. But in reality, your audience might actually be thinking they need something else entirely. That assumption that they have is incorrect, but it's your job to write content that targets those searches to educate them on why they need to come over to your side and learn about XYZ, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I have questions.
Ask away.
So the first question is, like, your basic business owner who has not been in marketing world for 20 years, when they see like, oh, I've got to figure out like what my keywords are is what we're talking about. Like how are people finding you, or how are people searching for the problem that you solve? Like, what is the best way for them to do that? And I guess my real question is the best way for somebody who is not a professional marketer, is the best way to hire somebody to do that research for them? Because I've gotten frustrated. Like, I tried to do a simple SEO course and I ran screaming. Like, it totally intimidated me. See, screaming. That's the 6 months old.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid reaction from both of you. And that's another reason why I try to make these things as simple as possible. So hearing you say that it feels simple to you when I'm talking about it, that's like a huge compliment. So thank you. So to answer your question, if the budget allows, I would say most straightforward and stress-free way for most business owners to do this would be yes, to hire someone to do it. In my business, I take two approaches to that. Some people want to work with me, like they want to strip everything down to the studs and figure out like what's going on. Is there a technical problem on my site? I feel like I'm writing great content. Is it a technical problem? Is it an audience misalignment problem? And we look at everything and walk them through, okay, here's what you need to fix technically. Here's what you need to think about when you're writing your content. You thought your competitors were so-and-so in search, but actually this company is really coming for your traffic. We break all that down. That is definitely a time and money investment to hire anyone to do that. So what is a more accessible first step for a lot of people is just hiring someone like me or another SEO expert just to do the keyword research for you. When you hire someone to do that, you as the business owner are going to need to know who your competitors are. You don't need to know who's your competitors in search. You need to know who your competitors are in your industry. And then the expert you work with should be doing an analysis to figure out, are those competitors actually your competitors in search results? Sometimes, in a lot of these projects, when I do them, it turns out that my client is actually outperforming one of their competitors in search already, but there's another company they hadn't even thought of that's looming in the corner waiting to take over search traffic. So we look at that. And then the person you're working with, you pay them to come up with keywords for you. And that just sort of takes that confusion and stress out of it. You just have a roadmap delivered to you by someone who does this, for a living. But if that's really not in your budget, if your business is very bootstrapped, or if you enjoy the research process, you can do it yourself. The number one thing I would say is do not use ChatGPT. Don't even use Gemini, even though it's a Google product. Don't do it. I have tried over the years out of curiosity to be like, okay, let's see what kind of metrics, can these tools really tell me what people are searching and, how much interest is there in a keyword? It's wrong. It's always wrong.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder, so if you're researching it, are you using Google, AdWords, or how are you verifying what's actually being searched?
So that's a good question. So I use a variety of tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush.
Oh, okay. Mozbar type things.
Yeah, I don't use Moz, but I know a lot of people who do. I also sometimes use a tool called SE ranking, which is a little more affordable. And I recommend that a lot to business owners they want to do this themselves, but their marketing budget maybe can't support a full Ahrefs or SEMrush subscription. So I use these tools. They all have free versions. SEMrush has a free version. Ahrefs has a free version. So you can do a limited amount of research for free. If someone wants to do deeper research, it is often more cost effective in the long run to pay someone like a consultant who has access to these tools to just do the research for them rather than sign up for a subscription.
Also, having been inside some of those platforms, I'm pretty tech savvy. It's not that they're super hard to use, but to really know what you're looking at and what the data means.
Yeah, it's a ton of data. But if someone wants to do this with themselves, I would recommend starting with the free version of SEMrush or Ahrefs. Starting to do some initial research. You're going to need to do a few queries a day because they have usage limits. Go in and start by typing in the things that you think your audience would be searching for. Start looking at who comes up in the search results. Look at how many searches per month happen for that keyword, which these tools will tell you. And look at something called the difficulty or the competition score. That tells you how hard it's going to be for a website, especially one that's a smaller website, to rank for. And it's on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being the hardest, 0 being the easiest. So you want to start with the low-hanging fruit first. You want to look for keywords that have a 0 to 50 difficulty score, but have some search volume. And maybe that search volume is only 30 searches a month. That's okay, because you are connecting with people who want something very specific. So if you're really I don't even know where to start, the first thing you need to do is get a Google Search Console account and connect it to your website. Google Search Console will walk you through the process of connecting it to your site. All you really need to start is a Google account of some sort. Get that set up. What that's going to do is, not immediately, but over time, over the next 3 months, you will start to see information populate in Google Search Console that tells you what people are actually searching for and when they see you in search results and whether or not they clicked. There's a company called Collaborator. They're a like a PR distribution marketplace, but they do some really interesting research. And they recently did a comparative analysis of keyword data from Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and Ahrefs, the SEO tool. And they found that it varied by region, but for a lot of places, Ahrefs and Google Search Console were the most aligned. And I would say my own take on it was seeing the alignment would probably be a reliable source. A lot of people think you got to go to Google Analytics right away. That's more to learn about what people are doing when they're on your site and where they're coming from geographically. If you want to find out what people are actually searching, Google Search Console will tell you that for free. Then you can take that information and use that to start your research in a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush. In the world of AI search, I also strongly recommend using a question tool. There's a few of these. The one I like to recommend is called AlsoAsked. You get 2 or 3 free searches per day. There is another one called Answer Socrates. Personally, I think AlsoAsked is the easiest and most straightforward to use, the least overwhelming. You start by choosing your location and typing in a question that you think or you know people are searching for related to your business and your website. And what that does is it populates a big graph, like a tree graph, full of other questions that are related to it. So that helps you see 2 things. It helps you see, one, okay, this question I think people are searching for, are there other related questions to it? Does all of this make sense for my business and my niche and my industry? And 2, it also gives you more keyword ideas. Because when people search, whether they're using AI or they're using Google, a lot of times people are searching in full sentences, not just single words, especially when they're using AI. They're having a conversational experience. So if you can pick out specific questions people are asking, that can help you, 1, narrow down keywords, and 2, wind up appearing in search results for those terms.
I do love Google Search Console. It's something that I've recommend all my clients to use, because then sometimes you find I'll go in there, especially when I was doing all my tutorials on YouTube for like specific questions. It's like one of the things I'm most highly ranked for is how to get like the image on your link when you share it on Facebook to be the right image.
Yeah.
Which is like, sure, very useful, but not useful in terms of like actually getting someone to purchase a service from me. Like, it was a very helpful article for people and it gets me a lot of traffic, but it doesn't convert. So
yeah. And that's a really great point right there, because doing that, you can see, because you can be thinking, oh, I've got tons of visits to my website. Why aren't I selling more? And then when you find out that that's a lot of the traffic, that's a sign that that's a sign that you can probably try to drive them into a funnel more to buy something. Or if you're like, okay, well, these posts did well, but there's no way I can convert these people to customers, then, there's other terms you have to focus in on. Even if that results in a traffic dip, it can result in a conversions boost, which is what we want.
So yeah, the high traffic for the wrong keywords is not going to result in.
Yes. And that's super common. I've been there. Most businesses have been there. Like, these things happen. And it's also important to know that there will be peaks and dips in your search results. Like when you're looking at Google Search Console, or when you're looking at your website performance, if you do have access to the paid version of a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, you will see peaks and dips. There will be valleys. What you want to look for is more gentle curves over time and not quick spikes and immediate drops. And, don't be alarmed. So there's something called the Great Decoupling, which is a reference to, in the past, if you got a lot of views in search results, you probably got a lot of clicks. And you would be able to see a line graph in Google Search Console that showed you both of those things. And the lines would kind of move in tandem. And the Great Decoupling is a split in those lines where impressions for a lot of people have gone up, but the clicks line graph has stayed lower. And that can cause a lot of panic when people first see it, but you don't need to panic. Higher impressions means that you're probably appearing in more AI search results where people are feeling like they're getting the answer and maybe aren't as likely to click. That's okay. There's still value there because you are still appearing in front of them and growing your brand awareness for later on when people are ready, especially when it comes to those informational queries. People just want info. You're growing that brand awareness for later when they're like, okay, I need help with this thing. Right. There was that website that I had gotten that good tip from. Let me go find it again. But as far as clicks going down, the thing you want to look at if you've been in business for a while online is, how have your sales held up, or whatever you want to be your conversion. Maybe you're selling a product. Maybe you're trying to get people to sign up for a webinar. Maybe you want them to book a meeting with you. How have those conversions held up? Because if your clicks have gone down, but the conversions have held up pretty well, then there's no problem, because you've just lost clicks that weren't relevant anyway. Like, you've lost clicks from people who weren't going to buy from you anyway, because your conversions have stayed consistent.
It's a lot. This is a lot of really practical information.
It's so good.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Honestly. So as we were just sort of checking out your website, and Kara was like, oh, this is interesting. That's interesting. She noticed, I didn't even notice it, that you are on some different social media accounts than the usual.
Yes.
That most of us are on. And we were curious about that because you do SEO, wondering how those two play.
So that's a good question. So the reason I am not on the major social media accounts is because I hate the major social media accounts with a deep and abiding fire. The fire of a thousand suns. I hate them so much. And honestly, I know that not everyone can get off of those platforms, but when I got off of them, it really improved my mental health. With the caveat that I am typically selling to other business owners and businesses. So for me, one of the best avenues for my social media is LinkedIn. Not that I'm a LinkedIn fangirl here, but it is what it is. I use it. If you're selling, direct to consumer goods or something, it might be a lot harder to get off of Instagram or TikTok. So I just like to give that caveat up front. As far as how they dovetail, I view SEO and social media as two completely separate entities. You may have your Facebook or Instagram page appear in search results, but you don't really have any control. Actually, I shouldn't even say really, you have zero control over what searches your social media pages appear in Google search results for. There's not even a whole lot you can do to optimize how your searches come up on the platforms. Now, I am not a social media marketer. I used to do that in-house at a prior full-time job I had. So that was years ago. I'm sure things have changed, but there's not a ton you can do because, you're not getting the ability to write full blog posts. You've got tags, you've got some keywords in your profile. You're not working with a lot of customizable text, but you have no control over whether or not one of those pages shows up in search results. And 9 times out of 10, it's just going to show up for your brand name or for your actual name as an individual. So if you think that if you find social media is a good avenue for your business, you have an audience there, by all means, keep it up. It wasn't that for me, so I ditched it. But don't rely on social media platforms as a driver of traffic through search engines. You have to think about them separately.
It's such a breath of fresh air. I had one expert that I went to one of her workshops, and she had a Q&A, and she basically said, get off of social media. Why? Just get off it. You don't need it. And I'm like, what? And I'm still a little shook by that. And I'm not I can't quite bring myself to let go of my Instagram binky.
Yeah, that was, so quick tangent here. I have a side project that is a website called tiredof.tech.
I'm looking at it right now. I somehow just stumbled on that, but it's it's very in depth because you get to pick which platform you're tired of. And it looks like, I don't know, it's like a cool quiz thing. I haven't done all of it because obviously I'm doing this right now. So
it is set up like a quiz. I'm planning to add more to it. So anyway, and I link to other resources I found, but I'm starting to actually write articles about my process of divorcing myself from social media. And I actually wrote one just a few weeks ago about how Instagram was so hard to give up. It is like that for a lot of us. It's like that final bastion. It's like that final boss. We're like, but that's where all of our friends are. And I went through a whole process where I was notifying people and planning my exit, and ultimately it was fine. I don't really miss anything, but it's interesting. I've learned about some events going on in the community, and I've said, oh, this is so cool. How are you promoting this? I hadn't heard about this before. It's been going on for a while. And they're like, oh, well, on social. And I said, I don't have social media. And without fail, everyone's like, how do you learn about anything? And I'm like, flyers? at the cafe. Please hang up flyers. So I beg of you, as a social media, someone who shuns social media largely, if you run events in your community, please hang up flyers at the coffee shop. There's some of us who need it, and we want to come to your events and give you our money.
I'm definitely going to explore this platform more, the tired of .tech, and we'll link that below in the show notes. But I'm sure Lauren shared the theme of this season is gentle growth. And I feel like there's so much here. One, like following like a simple system that isn't tied to algorithm. And like, yes, we're creating content, but we're not like creating 3 Instagram posts a day kind of content. But also, yeah, just bailing on, because I'm also still have the Instagram binky, and like, I feel like I need to keep posting on it, even though I'm terribly inconsistent and it drives nothing in my business. And I know that because I track it against like Google Analytics and all this stuff. And I can see each month, like nothing changes if I post 30 times or 0 times. But like, I feel like I need to be there. And the content creation piece is so heavy if you need to be there. So anyway, my question is, did that make your life feel more easeful giving up those platforms?
That's a good question. And a resounding yes. It made my life feel a lot more easeful because, for me, for my business, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't a driver of customers or conversions for me, no matter how much I posted, because ultimately it's not where my audience is looking to book or buy services. But yeah, I felt on this hamster wheel of like, but what if? What if I go away and I miss something that would have changed? And it was just a real burden. And I also found it difficult getting on these platforms, largely Instagram. And because I deleted my Facebook account before I ever even had a business. And I tried making a business account for like 0.2 seconds. I was like, no, what, never mind, I'm out. But for Instagram, it was hard because I'd get on and it presents you with a feed of other stuff, whether or not you follow people. And it was giving me a lot of sense of like imposter syndrome too at the same time, even though I know I'm not an imposter. I know I'm good at what I do and I have experience to back it up. But, you get on there and you see people posting about this and that. And I'd think, oh, well, now I need to do that or I need to do that. And it was very overwhelming. So setting that aside was really helpful. And I did it in stages. For my business Instagram, I initially just reduced it to a 9 grid. So I kept my handle and I just had the 9 grid set up with information, a graphic that when put all together was, information about, find me at my website. And once I did that and I was no longer engaging with it, I started caring less about it because that wasn't a driver of business for me. It didn't really change anything except I had a little more peace. And then eventually Instagram was like, oh, we're going to put a hold on your account. You need to submit your ID to us. And I was like, no, we're just going to delete it and let it go away. I don't know. It was like flagged me for spam or something, I guess, because I didn't use it ever. And I just let it go away. And I haven't missed it. I mean, I can't say I'd never go back, like if something changed, but at this point I don't plan to.
For the longest time, I thought I was impervious to Instagram. Like, I had friends who were like, oh, I quit it for my mental health and I feel so much better. And I'm like, what? I just curated the heck out of my feed. So it's like super body positive. I follow like heavy lifting women who have like larger size bodies. Like for me, it's very much about body image. That's my weakness. But lately, I've been following so many parenting things on Instagram. And it's eroding my mental health to the point where last month I did not let myself scroll.
Good for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. I didn't realize how much like just scrolling was damaging how I felt throughout the rest of the day until I did not let I could check it for business purposes, but I could not move my finger to scroll. That was the rule.
I like it. That's some impressive willpower right there.
I've never had willpower before in my life about anything. And somehow I was.
You were saving it all up for this crowning achievement because that whole app is designed to give you dopamine hits from the minute you log in and make you want to scroll. So the fact you were like, no, I shan't. That is very impressive.
I have a lot of ADHD characteristics and hunting for that dopamine is like just my every minute of every day. So that made it extremely difficult to quit. But I have to say, if y'all are listening and you're like, I can do Instagram, it's fine, it doesn't affect me. Try a scrolling, just a purge. Just don't scroll for a month and see how you feel.
I would piggyback on that. If you are like, well, Instagram is really important to my business. That's well and good. This broad says she can get off of it, but like, I couldn't do that. I totally get it. If you're not using something like Buffer, a scheduling tool, highly recommend starting because it will put a wall between you and the app. Like you can still post, you can reply to comments directly from Buffer, but you don't actually have to go on and get sucked in. And that in itself can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's what I plan it. I actually just do it from the Facebook Meta Business Suite.
Oh yeah, I forgot they have that now too.
So I post that way. So then when there are phases where I am posting more, like Wes will be like, I shared this thing with you. Did you see this thing? And I'm like, no. And he's like, but you're on, like you're posting. And I'm like, no, because I'm not logging in.
Yeah. I forgot that they have that business center now where you can schedule it all in there. That was rolling out as I was exiting. So yeah, I even still use Buffer for posting on my LinkedIn page. Like sometimes I post directly and I do go on LinkedIn and check because I do use it as networking, but I do a lot of my LinkedIn interaction through Buffer. And that's also nice because then I don't have to wade through the sea of LinkedIn influencer posts that appear in my feed.
I think I'm going to get rid of my business Instagram. I think it's time. I'm just doing it.
You're brave.
Yeah. I have so many fake accounts for like my personal, like when I do want to scroll, like I have one that's just called Salt Box and Stone Walls where all I follow are like really old 17th or 18th century salt box houses and antique fairs. So that account's just for that. Then I have like a fake alter ego name where like I'm only following certain accounts. The problem with Instagram though is they do show you way too many, like even in those accounts, there's a bit too many ads for my taste, but at least it's very curated, like uber curated.
The ads are hard. But I am fully team if Instagram isn't adding anything super valuable to your business,
it's adding to my to-do list. That's what it's doing.
Yeah, just ditch it. You can always get it back if you want to. Like this isn't like I doubt Instagram is gonna go away completely. So.
I'm going in on winning the internet with SEO, starting with your simple blogging system.
Heck yeah, if this can give some more people some peace of mind and some freedom from the social media feed, that's why I do it.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so as Kara said, our theme is easeful growth. Is there something that you have done? Like, so there's the getting off of social media, which, amen. Like even the thought is like making me nervous, but in a good way. But what else have you done in your business as just the solopreneur that we all are? Is there something that you've done that has just made things easier?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I do love this theme of easeful growth. So, and Lauren, you've probably heard me talk about this in our group that we're both in, but this has been a recent change for me as of 2026. I have started devoting all day Monday to my business. So that's been a big help for me. And, I've been in business now for 6.5 years. And for a lot of that, I've just been kind of trying to slot in my own content creation, website updates, planning, whatever, around my client work. And it was very hard for me to be consistent and to even really feel like I was chipping things away at my to-do list. So now Mondays are just for my business. I don't take any meetings. I don't do anything else, like no client meetings. And it's been really nice. I set myself a list every Monday, and I usually do not complete the entire list, but that's okay because these are things I'm doing for myself that, aside from the occasional thing like writing a check to pay my taxes, that doesn't have a hard deadline. So it's okay if it rolls over to the next weekend. But giving myself that space has been really helpful, especially because I am in a point in my business where I'm trying to launch new things like the simple blogging system. I've got some other ideas for things I want to bring to people brewing in my head. I'm reevaluating my target market a little bit for my done for you and consulting services, making some adjustments, and how I want to work and what kind of projects I want to work on going forward. And having Mondays just gives me the space to do that. Even if sometimes that looks like me just going for a long walk and thinking about it and then coming home and jotting down some notes before I file some receipts or work on a YouTube script. Like, it's just a really peaceful start to the week. And I feel more creatively fulfilled than I have in a long time, which is important. Because I'll be honest, even though I write a lot for clients and do strategy, it's not something that is per se creatively filling. It's business, if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. Since baby and figuring out childcare, like my childcare days are Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm trying to introduce Wednesdays. And then my husband is sometimes available on Fridays, but Mondays is when I've got the baby the whole time. And that's like, I'm trying to shoehorn my business, like working on my business, into whenever he's napping, or like I've got my weekly strategy call with my support system, my lovely VA. And yeah, it's not as much space as if there wasn't a 6-month-old involved, but I've never thought about being able to carve out that time before. And now I realize I could have been doing this all along. That would have been amazing. And it still is good. It's still good.
Yeah. And it's, we all go through different seasons of life. Eventually the 6-month-old won't be 6 months anymore. He'll be in school. So, but yeah, whatever you can do, if there's a day where you can devote at least part of the day to focusing on something for your business, I think that's super beneficial.
It's something I need to work on. I always say I'm going to do it, and then I just never, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take that call. I'll do this. This project ran late. I got to squeeze it in here. But like, kudos to you for guarding that time.
Well, it took a long time. I started with putting all of my client meetings on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Those are the only options. And eventually it evolved into then blocking off Mondays as well.
Nice.
All right. Where can people find you and your simple blogging system?
And the Tired of Tech, because we got so much stuff going on.
That's going in the show notes for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. You can find my SEO advice and writing and the simple blogging system and other ways to work with me on my website, which is egcreativecontent.com. Everything you might need is linked there. I also am on YouTube. I post about 2 videos a month running over some key topics. So you can find me under my name, Emily Gertenbach. And as we mentioned, yes, I do maintain my side project, Tired of Tech. So if what you took away from this was that you're feeling tired of social media, I got helpful tips for you over there. And I post about all of these different things on LinkedIn as well. But my website is the place to go to find me and all of the scattered locations I am on online.
Well, thank you so much. This was really fun, and I feel like very, very informative for me. So I'm sure our entire audience will be like taking notes as well.
Yes, I took so many notes.
I'm so glad to hear that. It was lovely to talk to both of you, and thank you so much for inviting me on and let me talk about what I'm doing. Because if I can help someone else and make this SEO content process a little easier for them, then that's wonderful. That's what I want to do.